Have you ever been stuck in your own head, playing the same thought over and over like a broken record? Maybe you're lying awake at night, thinking about what you said to someone earlier. Or maybe you're replaying every possible outcome of something that hasn't even happened yet. That's overthinking, and it feels like quicksand. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink. But what if I told you that overthinking is not a sign that you're broken, but a sign that your mind is powerful? The problem isn't that you think too much. The problem is that you let your thoughts run without direction. And when you learn how to guide them, that same energy that once kept you awake at night can actually become your greatest strength. So let's dive into this. Because today, you're going to learn not only how to stop overthinking, but how to transform your thoughts into clarity, confidence, and peace. The first step is to notice the pattern. Most people don't even realize when they're overthinking. It just feels like normal thinking. But there's a difference. Healthy thinking moves you forward. It leads to action, solutions, or understanding. Overthinking keeps you in the same place. It circles the same idea endlessly, usually with fear or regret attached. Here's an easy test. If your thoughts repeat, if they bring no new insights, and if they make you feel worse instead of better, you're not solving, you're spinning. And simply naming that pattern, saying to yourself, "I'm overthinking right now," already weakens its grip. But awareness alone isn't enough. We need tools. One of the most powerful tools is shifting focus from what if to what is. Think about it. Overthinking lives in the past or the future. What if I made the wrong choice? That's the past. What if I fail tomorrow? That's the future. But neither one is happening right now. The present moment is the only place you can act, the only place you can change anything. So when your mind starts racing, ground yourself with this simple question: what is true right now? Not tomorrow, not yesterday now. Look around. Feel the chair you're sitting on. Notice your breath. Name 3 things you can see. By anchoring yourself to the present, you rob overthinking of its favorite fuel, imagination gone wild. Another trick is giving your thoughts a container. Imagine your mind as a river. When there are no banks, it floods everywhere. But when you create boundaries, the water flows with power. Overthinking happens when thoughts have no limit. So set one. Here's how. Grab a notebook and write down every thought that circles in your head. Don't judge, just pour it out. Then give yourself permission to think about it only during a specific time of the day, say 20 minutes in the evening. This creates what psychologists call worry time. And strangely enough, once your brain knows it has a scheduled time, it stops nagging you all day. Now, let's talk about the role of action. Overthinking is often just stalled energy. You think instead of act. But action creates clarity. Even a small step forward can silence the endless what-ifs. For example, instead of overthinking whether you should text someone, just send a simple message. Instead of worrying about failing a test, study 1 page. Instead of playing out 100 scenarios in your head, take 1 real step and let reality give you the answer. Action is like turning on the light in a dark room. Suddenly, the shadows that looked so big and scary shrink into nothing. But maybe you're wondering, what if my overthinking comes from fear? That's the secret. Almost all overthinking is rooted in fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of rejection, fear of losing control. And fear is tricky. It disguises itself as preparation. You tell yourself you're just being careful, but in truth, you're hiding. So how do you handle fear? By flipping the question. Instead of asking, what if it goes wrong? Ask, what if it goes right? Instead of imagining failure, imagine success. Instead of picturing rejection, picture connection. This mental shift changes the emotion attached to your thoughts. And suddenly, thinking becomes exciting instead of paralyzing. Now, here's a simple but life-changing truth. You don't have to believe every thought you have. Most people do. A thought pops up, "I'm not good enough, they don't like me, this will end badly," and they treat it like fact. But your thoughts are not the truth. They're suggestions, options, and you get to decide which ones you accept. When an unhelpful thought appears, don't argue with it. Just label it. Say, "That's just a thought," and then let it pass like a cloud drifting across the sky. The more you practice this, the freer you become. Before we go deeper, let me pause here. Because if this resonates with you, if you've felt the heavy weight of overthinking in your own life, I want to invite you to subscribe. This channel is all about giving you the tools to master your mind, build confidence, and create the kind of life you deserve. And if you're watching this far, I know you're serious about growth. So hit that button. You'll be glad you did. Now, let's continue. One of the most overlooked causes of overthinking is lack of rest. When you're tired, your brain works against you. Exhaustion magnifies problems, makes decisions harder, and fuels negative thinking. That's why problems always feel bigger at night. Sleep resets your brain. Rest is not lazy, it's necessary. And speaking of the body, let's not forget the connection between overthinking and movement. A restless mind is often trapped in a still body. Exercise, even something as simple as a walk, can break the loop. Moving your body releases tension, clears stress, and gives your thoughts new perspective. Ever notice how solutions appear in the shower or while walking? That's because movement frees the mind. Finally, let's touch on self-compassion. Overthinkers are usually hard on themselves. They replay mistakes, criticize every choice, and punish themselves for not being perfect. But what if you treated yourself the way you treat a friend? What if instead of asking, "Why did I mess up?" you asked, "What can I learn?" Compassion doesn't mean avoiding responsibility. It means giving yourself permission to be human. And paradoxically, the kinder you are to yourself, the less your mind feels the need to spin endlessly. Now, let's go deeper. Overthinking isn't just about thinking too much. It's about not trusting yourself. Your brain is like a loyal but overprotective guard. It keeps trying to prevent mistakes, embarrassment, or failure. And while that seems helpful, it often goes too far, keeping you stuck. The first step to overcoming overthinking is to understand that not every thought deserves action or attention. Imagine a TV with too many channels. Overthinking is like flipping endlessly, trying to watch them all at once. But no one can process all of that. You need to pick the channels that matter. Ask yourself, which thoughts actually improve my life if I focus on them? Everything else? Let go. One powerful technique is mental scheduling. Give your brain permission to think about certain topics only at specific times. For example, set aside 15 minutes each evening for reflection or problem solving. Outside of that, gently remind yourself, this is not the time. Over time, your mind learns boundaries and stops constantly flooding you with endless what-ifs. Another key tool is visualization, but in a constructive way. Many overthinkers imagine worst-case scenarios endlessly. Instead, try imagining positive outcomes with as much detail as the negative ones. Visualize success, calmness, and clarity. When you practice this regularly, your brain becomes trained to expect solutions instead of disaster. And here's something most people miss. Overthinking often comes from avoiding emotion, not problems. When you sit with discomfort, sadness, or fear instead of pushing it away, the mind stops circling endlessly. Allow yourself to feel, even for a few minutes, without judgment. Write it down, breathe, or just sit quietly and acknowledge it. Emotional release gives your thoughts the room to stop spinning. Mindfulness meditation is another powerful ally. Even 5 minutes a day can reset your mind. Focus on your breath. Notice your thoughts. Let them pass without attaching to them. Over time, this strengthens the ability to observe thoughts instead of being controlled by them. You begin to see thoughts are temporary. They don't define you, and they don't control you unless you let them. Let's talk about decision-making. Overthinkers often get trapped because they want every choice to be perfect. But the truth is, perfection doesn't exist. Waiting for the perfect decision only prolongs the spiral. A better approach is what psychologists call satisficing. Make a decision that is good enough, take action, and adjust as you go. The small steps forward dissolve overthinking faster than hours of mental debate ever will. Another subtle but powerful shift is reframing uncertainty as opportunity. Overthinkers fear the unknown. But what if the unknown is exactly where growth happens? Instead of asking, "What if this goes wrong?" Ask, what can I learn if this happens? When you see uncertainty as a teacher instead of a threat, your mind relaxes and starts solving instead of spinning. Let's explore one of the most overlooked factors, your environment. A chaotic space fuels a chaotic mind. If your room, desk, or digital life is messy, your brain struggles to find clarity. Take time to declutter. Organize your surroundings. Create a calm space where your mind can think clearly instead of being bombarded with distractions. Now, here's a game changer: the power of routine. Overthinking often strikes when life feels unpredictable. By creating daily routines, you give your mind a predictable structure. Morning habits, exercise, planning blocks, and even fixed sleep schedules can reduce mental noise dramatically. Your brain thrives on patterns. The more predictable your environment and habits, the less overthinking controls you. Let's dive into social strategies. Sharing your thoughts with a trusted person can prevent mental spirals. Just verbalizing worries often makes them seem smaller. But choose carefully. Share with someone who listens without judgment or overreacting. A supportive friend, mentor, or coach can help you put problems into perspective and stop unnecessary repetition in your mind. Here's another subtle but essential practice: limit information overload. Constant news, social media, notifications, and endless advice from others flood your mind with input. Overthinking feeds on that chaos. Be intentional about what you consume. Turn off notifications. Limit social media. Hear information that actually serves you. When your mind isn't distracted by endless input, it can focus on what matters. Let's address self-talk. Overthinking often comes with harsh inner dialogue. I should have done this. Why am I so stupid? What if I fail? These thoughts trap you in cycles of doubt. Replace them with questions instead of judgments. What can I do next? What's one small step? What did I learn? Changing your inner conversation shifts your energy from panic to solution-focused. And here's the key: consistency matters more than intensity. Meditation, journaling, reflection, healthy routines, these are not instant cures. But done daily, even in small doses, they retrain your brain. They help your mind stop spinning endlessly and start working for you instead of against you. Finally, remember this: overthinking is a signal, not a flaw. It tells you that your brain is active, aware, and trying to solve problems. Respect it, guide it, and give it structure. When you stop seeing it as a problem to fight and instead as a tool to manage, your thinking becomes your superpower. Action, presence, routines, reframing, emotional awareness, environment, self-talk, and small daily habits. All of these combined create a mind that is calm, focused, and decisive. A mind that no longer wastes energy circling the same ideas endlessly. When you put these strategies into practice, overthinking loses its grip. You begin to notice clarity where there was chaos, confidence where there was doubt, action where there was hesitation, and perhaps most importantly, peace where there was constant mental noise. This is the transformation. Not overnight, but step by step, habit by habit, moment by moment. By learning to guide your thoughts, set boundaries, and act deliberately, overthinking stops being a prison and becomes a tool. And once you master it, you'll see that your mind, once your enemy, is now your greatest ally.